Good morning, everybody. Thanks for coming to the webinar today on how to introduce people to eXp. This will be probably around 30 minutes. I'm going to try to keep it that quick. It'll depend on how many questions you guys have. As we're going through it, you can ask me questions, put them into the questions box, which makes sense, right? And we're just going to kind of go through what I've learned. I spent the last 2 or 3 months traveling around the country, meeting with some of my friends who are doing an amazing job of introducing people to the company. And this is just something that I really want for everybody. One of the reasons why when I switched my brokerage, Tropical Realty, to eXp was for the ability for my agents to generate, I don't care if it was $5,000, $10,000, $20,000, $50,000 extra a year or a month. I just wanted to give them that opportunity to do that because I know in real estate we don't have that. We don't have any type of retirement. I mean, if you're anything like me or like most of my agents that I know, we're just not saving money. We're getting a check and we're spending a check, and then we're getting another check and we're spending another check. So anyways, this has nothing to do with explaining eXp since you're all eXp agents. This is really about how to attract agents to eXp. Give me 1 second here. I got one more thing to adjust. There we go. All right. So first thing I want to talk about, and this is a really, really cool thing. I'm going to give you a quick story about one of our agents. Many of you have heard this story before. But Katie's one of our agents. Katie, makes 60, 70 grand a year, sometimes 80. Does fairly well for an agent in our area. Came to me in January of 2017 with a question, actually a fear. She was like, I'm not sure what to do, but my daughter's going to college next year, September 2018, and I don't know how to pay for college. And of course, at the time, before we did eXp, before I merged the brokerage, I didn't have an answer. My only answer to her at the time was, well, just sell more homes. Well, all of us know that that's fun to say, but not always possible, right? And especially for someone with their daughter home the last year before they go off to college, she wanted to spend her time with her daughter. So I get that. So anyways, fast forward 18 months, and I'll send this video out to everybody. But fast forward 18 months, Katie is now paying enough for college. And if you look at this chart here, she would have to have in the bank at a 5% interest rate somewhere between $240,000 and $480,000 to earn what she's earning in referral fees from agents, rev share. So think about that. How many of you have $300,000, $400,000 in the bank? And what does an extra couple $1,000s a month do for your life? Most people, most agents, $2,000 or $3,000 extra a month is life changing. I mean, for me, I'd have to have over $5 million, almost $6 million in the bank right now to make what I'm making. And I could guarantee you that is not there. So I love this chart. I actually took it off a friend of mine's site who owns an insurance company because they live on a residual model also, right? And it just kind of gives you an idea. So if you're just making $500 a month extra, that would take $120,000 in the bank to create that. How many of you have an extra $120,000 in the bank at 5%? And by the way, where are you getting 5%, right? So I just wanted to show that before I went into everything because I just love that that slide. So one of the things that made me switch, this is probably the biggest thing that made me switch when I switched my brokerage. I had met with Gene Frederick, who most of you know who Gene is. He's 6,000 or 7,000 agents under him now, and probably making $6 or $7 million this year. And we were talking. We were in Austin, Texas, and everything was great. And I was pretty sold, but then he told me this model, and I want to explain this to you. This has to do with franchises. If you come from a franchise, or if you're talking to someone in a franchise, this is such an important thing. And we do this on a piece of paper, but I did it on here for you. In fact, I actually just figured out how to do this a little while ago because I'm not a PowerPoint guy. But all your franchises are, most of them are international companies. And then they all have regions, right? So they're all regional. And then they have franchises, and the franchises are the people that own the brokerages, right? Those are the owners. And then those people hire team leaders, managers, or recruiters, or all three. And then finally you have the agent. So that's your typical franchise model of every single franchise that's out there. So what Glenn did when he came up with this, he said, well, why are we paying all those people? Because all those people above the agent have to get paid from commissions, right? They all have to get paid. So what Glenn did is he wanted to make the agents number one. He wanted to make the agents what this business is all about. and he committed to taking 50% of the revenue from eXp and giving that back to the agents. When I saw this on paper, this was my final straw to switching over the brokerage, which, as you know, I gave up a few $1,000,000 to do that. So when you're talking to any franchise agent, this is a great way to explain to them how much money is going to pay the people above them when we really could take that money and just give it back to the agents to helping us grow the company. We don't have recruiters. We don't have them, right? We don't have team leaders. We don't have managers, on offices. We have agents, and our agents help grow the company, and that's what you're here for, is to learn how to grow the company. And I can tell you, I know people that are making as little as a couple $100 extra a month to people that are making a couple $100,000 extra a month. Well, I guess a couple 100,000 is not extra, right? All right, so let's talk about it. First of all, you have to be a positive person. This is really difficult to do if you're negative. Uh, I'm always positive. I live on positivity, as you all know. And so be positive, be happy, be smiling. People want to hang around with people that are smiling and happy. Uh, be patient. I'm talking to people today that I've been talking to for a year and a half that still haven't joined, right? Um, and there just isn't. So you have to be patient. I do have a question here that says, "Can you call in on a number that can't hear anything?" I don't know if there's a number to call in. I'm assuming in the invitation there's a number to call in. You'd have to check your invitation there. There you go. Thank you. Now she does. And the the other thing is, don't be obnoxious. And a lot of people get into this, and I don't. Maybe they're not obnoxious, but they're overzealous. You've got to be cool. I mean, I've always been cool. I didn't always look like this, but now I do. But I still try not to be obnoxious. I try to help people. The best way to do this is just to be awesome when you're being a realtor. We all do transactions, right? I mean, I've done a ton of transactions this past year, and I reach out to the people I'm talking to, and have you heard about eXp? And we have a conversation. But if you're an awesome realtor, they want to be part of what you're doing. If you're a realtor who's a jerk on the other end, and we all deal with those people, do you really want to work with those people? Probably not. And when you're talking to people, just listen. Don't talk about yourself. Talk about, let them talk. Find out about their needs and their goals. And what you'll find out is most people really need us. Most people really want to be part of us. They just don't know that yet. And I will tell you that most people that I get in front of or have a conversation on the phone after they've done everything, about 50% of them have been joining. And keep in mind, I don't just talk to people for myself. All of you on this webinar know that you can reach out to me at any time and talk to people for you or with you, and we'll have that conversation about how that works in a few minutes. One of my biggest things that I came up with about a year ago was I never used the word rev share, and I never used the word recruiting. I use introducing and I use referral fees, because the first thing when you talk about recruiting, a wall goes up to people and they say, I don't want to recruit. I'm not a recruiter. Well, I got to tell you, I'm not a recruiter either. And so introducing people to eXp is much easier than trying to recruit people to eXp. We grew Tropical Realty to up to 120 agents at one point, and I never did any recruiting. All we did is our agents would always introduce people to our company. I'm sure you've done that in the past, the companies that you've worked with. You've always introduced people if you like the company you work for. This is no different. Just introduce people. And the reason why I don't talk about rev share is agents don't comprehend that, but every agent understands referral fees because we all get referral fees. And the final part of this is, again, it's an attitude, and Rob Flick told me this line, which I love, is he doesn't list houses anymore, he lists people. And what he meant by that is you can work so hard. How much effort goes into finding a listing? For the majority of you, that is a lot of work, a lot of expense, a lot of time, a lot of effort. And it's actually a lot easier to introduce somebody to the company. And if they're a capper, if they do $3 million or more in business each year, you're going to earn $2,800 a year from that person this year, next year, the year after, et cetera, as long as you're both with the company. So he doesn't list houses anymore. He doesn't sell property anymore. He just lists people, and he's going to make a ridiculous amount of money this year. And he does that because he does all the stuff that's here. So great stuff. All right, I get asked this all the time. So where do you go meet agents? So let's talk about a few different things. And I'm not going to really go into a lot of these, but I will tell you, social media is one of the best things to do, right? I have about 3,000 agents, maybe close to 3,500 agents on my friend's Facebook page, which is a lot. And what I did is I went in, I printed out every single friend I had, and I went in and changed them and created a list. And you can go into Facebook and create a list. It's pretty easy. It's on the left-hand side of your page. You'll see friends list. You click on that, and there's a button that says Create Lists. You name it. I named mine Realtors and Realtors in Brevard. So two different ones, depending on who I wanted my message to go to. And I put every single one of my realtors into a group. So I have eXp Realtors, I have Realtors, and I have Realtors in Brevard. So whoever I wanted my message to go to, and I don't post a ton of stuff about eXp. I'm not one of those people that's out there every 5 minutes posting stuff, but I post things that I like. Like, for instance, we just hit 18,000 agents. I posted that. That's very cool. When I hit a milestone for me, when I hit 350 agents, I posted that. LinkedIn, the same thing. You can go into LinkedIn and change your status on LinkedIn. Once you change your status on LinkedIn, it goes out to everybody in your group on LinkedIn. And there's multiple ways to use LinkedIn to meet agents. Again, one of the things you could do is say you wanted to go into a different market. You could go in and find all the mortgage brokers in that market and become linked with them. Now, all those mortgage brokers are connected to every realtor in that area. Let's go into all their acquaintances, or whatever they call those things on LinkedIn, and then you can click on those and become linked in with all realtors from a different area. Multiple ways to do this. Vendors. I just did this last week and got 2 names of people that I'm calling. I said, who do you feel is the most up-and-coming realtor in the area that's newer? But I meant newer, it does at least $1 or $2 million a year. And they gave me a couple names. So when you're doing an inspection, or you talk to your friend that's an insurance company or a lender or whatever, ask them that question. I do a lot by helping agents. It's one of the things that I do. I love doing it. I teach a lot of classes. I do my Mondays with Mitch with a lot of agents. And I don't push eXp when I do those things. I just do those. And what happened last week is an agent reached out to me and said, and just said, I love what you're doing. How do I become part of you? And they did. Attending realtor events, right? Another great way. Again, we've talked about people you're doing transactions with. When you're doing a transactions, one of our agents just says it very simply. He goes, how come you haven't joined eXp yet? Starts the conversation. One of my favorite ones, and I've actually started to schedule this month into my life, going back to working on Saturdays, which I haven't done for a while, is go to open houses. And again, don't be obnoxious about it, but what are people doing at open houses? They're usually sitting around waiting for anybody to talk to, right? So go to open houses and just wear your eXp badge or your eXp shirt or whatever you have and have a conversation. So how's the open house going for you? How's business? What's going on? And then you just get into a conversation. And the same thing with broker open houses. So where before you may not have gone to a lot of things that involved a lot of realtors, you kind of change your mindset now and go to places where there are a lot more realtors. I was talking to Gene Frederick the other day about this, and he goes to all the realtor events in Texas. And what he does, this is kind of funny, is he just stays in Starbucks for a couple of hours and just keeps getting back in line, because when you're in Starbucks at those conventions, you're in line for 20 minutes and you got a person in front of you and a person behind you. Again, same conversation. So, what do you ask? People ask me all the time. Well, I'm just going to be talking about their business. Again, it's really important that you just listen to people. So if they're not from your market, how's your market? Do you think the industry's changing? What's going on in the industry? What do you think of Zillow? These are all just things to start conversations. I was at an event yesterday in Orlando, and I have 3 or 4 people that I talked to there that are now interested in joining eXp that I'll follow up with today. And basically our conversation just stopped. I said, hey, how you doing? That was it, right? How you doing? Really, where you from? Where do you live? Really? And then I started asking these people, so where did you see the industry going? There's a lot of things are changing, huh? Because we're at a tech conference. And we started talking about the industry changing, and I always managed to put in there, yeah, one of the reasons I switched over to eXp was because it gave me an exit strategy, because I know, who knows how long we have in this business. And as soon as I start talking about exit strategy, people are like, what do you mean you have an exit strategy? And then I started talking about, the referral fees and how I've grown over the last 18 months. it's really not difficult to have a conversation. You're all in real estate, right? What do you do every day? You have conversations. So realtors are easy to talk to realtors about real estate, right? Pretty simple. So any one of these is a good way to start. But I honestly, my favorite one is, hey, how you doing? And I think that works better than pretty much anything else I've ever done. So part of the things that you need to learn now, a lot of this is what I do on my third calls, which we're going to talk about in a little bit, when I do my three-way calls with you guys, rather. But I'm always asking them to tell me about themselves or tell me about their team, tell me about their operations, tell me what you do. I've talked to a lot of brokers for you guys. This is how I start everything. Because until I know what they need and what's going on in their life, I can't really talk to about them. And then, so tell me about what you really like right now. What do you enjoy about your current brokerage or your current operation? Um, and then after they've talked, and again, I'm not going to start talking until they're done talking. I'm going to listen. And by the way, those of you who know me, which almost everybody here does, I have a really hard time listening. It's a challenge for me because I could talk for the next 6 hours, as you all know, which I probably will today while you're here because I have a captured audience. But what would you change in your situation now? What could you do? What would you do differently? And usually they'll say, I don't know. And say, well, would you like to own some of the company? Would you like it if your company offered you other ways to generate revenue? And you're just kind of getting these things out because those are the things I need to know. And this is really important, is who's involved in the decision making. And you can meet with someone all day long, or if their spouse is involved in the decision making of what they do, and they're not there, you're not going to get where they're not going to get where you are, right? So you have to get what the decision is, and always set the next expectation. So great, can I give you a call back? I'll give you a call back tomorrow and we'll have a conversation, see if you have any more questions. You're always going to end it with an appointment, meaning I'm going to call you, I'm going to have the appointment right now, and I'm going to call you tomorrow. I'm going to call you next Thursday. I'm going to tell you when I'm going to call you, and I don't ask, I just tell them, and just to see if you have any more questions, and then you make sure that you do that. I've had so many people say, yeah, I was talking to this guy, but I never called him back. Well, what do you think is going to happen if you never call them back? Somebody else from eXp is going to talk to them, and they're going to join. And by the way, that's happened to me. It's probably happened to you. It's happened to everybody I know because we all are really bad in the follow-up, right? So I kind of look at an agent when I'm doing this as an internet lead, and I don't mean it in a bad way, but I always will I will always I don't know. I just lost my train of thought. Somebody asked me a question, so I got distracted. Anyways, uh, I'm always trying to find out when the next thing is when I'm going to talk to them. The question I got is, are you wearing your eXp shirt badge when you start the conversation in person? I personally don't wear an eXp badge or an eXp shirt when I'm meeting people in person because I wear a suit every day. I've never been a badge person, but that's never bothered me. For a lot of people, like when I'm not working, if you see me out at the port in Port Canaveral having drinks or whatever, I'm always wearing my eXp shirts. So if I'm not working, my days are usually 6 in the morning till 6 at night, 7 at night. But on the weekends and at night when I go out, I'm usually wearing an eXp shirt. And by the way, I've had people join because of that, and I've also sold homes because of that. Now, should I wear an eXp badge everywhere? I probably should, but that's just not me. So what I'm listening for when I'm having these conversations is what part of the 5 pillars of eXp do they fit into? Because not everybody's going to fit into it. We have some great stuff. We have our technology, and I'm not going to go into details. You guys all know this stuff. But we have our technology. So if they talk about, well, my company doesn't have enough technology, well, hey, we got to talk about the Show Me Now app. We're going to talk about the virtual world. We're going to talk about KV Core. We're going to talk about SkySlope. We're going to talk about Enterprise. All that stuff is awesome stuff to talk about. If they want to know strictly what's the money, what does the money look like? And I had that conversation the other day with a Coldwell Banker agent, and she said to me, she goes, I just want to know the money. And so we talked about the money and the difference. And the difference of the money was she finally got a raise from 70% to 75%. I said, well, you're not really at 75%. You're at 69%. So I showed her just by moving straight over without talking about rev share, without talking about anything else. We immediately went to, she was going to make an extra $35,000 a year just by making the switch. And she only makes about $100,000. So what's that difference for $120,000? I don't remember the exact number, but it was like $35,000 she was going to make extra a year. So I like talking about the financial. If they said yes to about ownership, well, then we talking about the stock. I start talking about the 5%, and I have a couple of agents now that have over 5,000 shares each just from the 5%. What an opportunity to create a this thing keeps coming up on my computer. What a great opportunity to create a safety net or a retirement account. Of course, I always talk about the rev share, and let me talk to you how I talk about that. And it really depends who I'm talking to, because this is really important. If I'm talking to an agent that does less than $100,000 a year in business, I say this. This is exactly what I say. I said, the cool thing about our referral fees is if you introduce 2 people a year for the next 3 years to the company, and those 6 people introduce just one person, and we'll just say they all cap just for easy numbers. That's up to $36,000 a year in your pocket. What does an extra $3,000 a month in your life do for you? And I can guarantee you, for almost every single person on this webinar today, it's life-changing. Even for myself, and I do pretty well, but even for myself, an extra $3,000 pays my mortgage payment and my car payments. How cool would that be to have a free mortgage payment? Now, that's what you want to do with this, too. When you're talking about this, is you want to relay it to something personal, a mortgage, a car payment, to their kids in private school. I was talking to one of my agents before they became an agent, but they're with us now in San Diego. And I said, I know $36,000 is not a lot to you because you make X amount of dollars. He goes, actually, $36,000 pays for both my kids' private school. I guess he pays $15,000 or $16,000 a year for that. Again, it became personal for him. So $36,000 a year for everybody has a meaning. And I relate it to a house payment. I mean, imagine not having a house payment. And by the way, do you know how much easier it is to sell homes when you don't have to worry about making your car payment and your mortgage payment? It's much easier. Now, if I'm talking to somebody a little bit bigger who gets this on a little bit bigger, but not huge, but a little bit bigger, I'm going to say, so if you introduce 3 people this year and 3 people next year, and we get really, really good at it, in that third year you introduce 4 people to the company, you've introduced 10 people to the company this year, right? Now, if you teach those 10 people to do exactly what you're doing, introduce 10 more people, do you know how much money that is? It's a crazy number. It's up to $348,000 a year if they all cap. Now, of course, I always say, look, they're not all going to cap, but what if they all half capped? What would an extra $175,000 do for you? And honestly, these are real numbers, by the way. These are not made up numbers that I'm making up. These are real numbers that any one of you on this call, any one of you can generate. Right? Any one of you. There's not one of you here that cannot make $200,000-$300,000 a year doing this over the next 3, 4, 5 years. It's really, really easy to do. And then my final piece is, I don't get enough. If they say something to the effect they don't get enough training, then I go into our education. Our education is over 50 hours per week now of education, not counting that's the live stuff. Never mind all the stuff that's archived. So my whole point of my conversation is to really get into this and be able to find out what their need is of these 5 things, and sometimes it's 2 or 3 of these things that's going to help them to join us at eXp. So here's the process. I'm going to walk you through the process after my water break. You're going to call or text people. And again, these are people you're doing transactions with, people that are your friends with in the business. And all you're asking them, there's a couple of ways of doing this. One is, have you heard about eXp? Or one is just, hey, how you doing? Haven't talked to you in a bit. If it's somebody you haven't talked to for a bit, how's business? They'll ask you how business is. Well, I switched to eXp this year. It's been great. One of the best things I've ever done in my life. Starts the conversation. Will everybody respond to you? No. Who cares? It doesn't matter, right? Very, very important that you do not try to explain this over the phone. If you try to explain this over the phone to somebody, you will lose them instantly. All you want to do is introduce them to one of the webinars or watch one of the videos. And if you don't have a video, reach out to me and I'll send you a couple different ones you can use. We all have ones that we like. If they say, well, can you just explain it to me? Say, I'd love to explain it to you, but I really don't explain it very well. And that's why I want you to watch this video. It's 90% visual. And if you watch this video, it's going to help you understand it better. When they call you, and this is the most important thing that I've learned. When you call them to follow up after they've watched the video, and by the way, 50% of them won't watch it right away. So you can just keep calling them. So did you watch the video? A lot of people now are watching the video or doing a PowerPoint with them online. Not a bad idea. Um, you can answer a couple of questions, but you don't want to answer all the questions. And let me explain to you why. If they think they have to learn everything that you know, then they're not joining because it's way too much information. So you utilize your sponsor, you utilize me. That's what I'm here for. I'm here for all of you to help you. So when you get them on the phone, you want to sit there and say, um, you want to sit there and say, you know, I can't really explain all this. I sell real estate, but what I'd like to do is, can we get Mitch on the phone because Mitch knows everything, and then you let me be the guy that knows everything because you want to show them how easy it is to actually do this. Um, it's really, really simple. Uh, you know, you don't want to know everything. And by the way, you don't want to know anything. I want you selling houses because if you don't sell any houses, none of us make any money, right? So just think about it like that. All you got to do is know um, uh, that you don't need to know any of this, and they want to see that it's easy. So, all right, so this guy sent me a video, got me on the phone, then hooked me up with Mitch, and Mitch knew everything, so I don't really have to know anything and learn all this stuff. It's very important. It's one of the key things. A question I had is, do you like Brent's video? It's about 28 minutes long. The only challenge with Brent's video, which is the new re.com, it's a great video. There's another one, I can't remember the name off the top of my head, which I'll get to everybody, that he does. It's better. There's a couple things he talks about that are not accurate in there about leads. And I don't want to mislead anybody on this. I personally still use the old Gene Frederick video that we did in 2017, but I let everybody know um, that it's not accurate now with the stock and it's not accurate with the fees, but it still it's still a great video. In fact, Gene and I were talking. That's the video he still uses. But keep in mind again. So don't answer the questions, even if you know all the answers. Get someone on the phone, whether it be me or someone else that you trust. It doesn't matter. Um, the that's all you need to do. Okay, very, very simple. This is not rocket science, my friends. This is really easy. And this is, by the way, some of the stuff, all the stuff I'm teaching you right now is the stuff that I spent a fortune flying around the country learning, so I could help you guys. And my goal for you this year is just a couple people. I don't want you to do, I mean, I'd love you to do what I'm doing, actually, but I don't want you to do that for me. I want you to do this for you. I want to change your life. I really do. All right, so I'm going to go over just a few other tips, okay? Well, we already talked about this. Make sure we talk to an agent or a team, find the 5 pillars. One of the objections I get all the time is, I'm happy where I'm at. So I always say, great. I used to love owning Tropical Realty. We're looking for agents that are happy, but the reality is we the reality is there's a better opportunity, and I have to do what's best for my family. And that was what I switched, and that was my true, honest answer to people. I switched Tropical Realty over to eXp so my agents could have the opportunity to create some sort of retirement income because there is none in real estate. When talking numbers, it's really simple. Like I said, just do a head-to-head comparison. I did one the other day with a Remax agent, right? Very, very influential. And the reality is when we finished the numbers, they weren't that much different. They were pretty much what he's going to make now, right? But that was without introducing one person to the company. That was not counting the stock he's going to get. He would be an icon agent, so it's not counting the $16,000 he's going to get back in the stock. So there's always things you can do. I can always beat pretty much anybody's comparison, if not head-to-head, which I can most of the time, but by using the stock and the rev share as the additional income for them to do that. Because ultimately, even if I'm talking to a 100% person, if they introduce 6 people to that cap, they're now at 100%. If they're an icon agent, they're at 100%, right? In the 3-way calls, again, we talked about it again, and I can't emphasize how important that is. Do not try to do this alone. It's very, very difficult to do this by yourself. So follow up. I don't harass people. It's not my style. But I do follow up text, usually once a month. I just did one to several people yesterday and today when we hit 18,000 agents. Hey, we hit 18,000 agents. Hope you're doing well. I'm always here. Very simple, right? And the other part of this is making sure you pick the right agents. So I made a big mistake at the beginning. because I've introduced 42 people to the company since I've been here. Out of those 42, only 20 are actually qualifying people, right? So you want people that are actually doing transactions to join us. We're looking for the better agents. We're looking for great agents, but and I don't mind agents that are doing 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 transactions a year. And I don't really care if they're doing $25 billion a year because I make the same amount of money at the cap, right? Once they cap, that's the max I'm going to do. But if you're going to bring on new agents, you have to be responsible for them. You have to help them. If you're going to introduce anybody to the company, you need to make sure that you help them get onboarded and make sure you do that. Picking the sharper people makes this a lot easier, right? I want people that are independent. I don't really want people that depend on me. One of the reasons, I did this was so people don't depend on me for the rest of my life. That's not my goal. The other part of this is you got to make it part of your business plan. So I block out an hour a day. Honestly, I'll be honest. I've literally, because I had another company and I finally finished everything and I've been dealing with changing everything out. Starting next week, I've got an hour blocked out every day to reach out to two people. And the goal is two people, right? If you can communicate, I don't care if it's talk or voice or text, to two realtors a day, 5 days a week, your life will change. And I'll give you a number on that. I was in New Orleans and was introduced to a guy who was a new agent. Still has not sold a home because he realized there's more money in doing this than there was in selling homes. And he was taught just to talk to two realtors a day. They call it 2, 10, 40. 2 people a day, 10 people a week, 40 people a month. And so if you're doing those numbers, your life is going to change. I guarantee that. So with this guy, he started out and he just took that to height. So he took every day. And by the way, he didn't know a lot of realtors. So he was cold calling realtors, which I don't do and I'm not going to do. But he was just calling realtors that were near him. And he talked to two realtors every day. And at the end of 1 year of doing this, and we're talking about an hour a day, at the end of 1 year, he had 257 people in his entire group, and his checks were between $10,000 and $15,000 a month. Now, this is a person that doesn't have the connections that most of you have. And you've got to get past that, whatever holds you back, right? I'm not sure what holds you back, but whatever holds you back, you need to get past that and just do this. And that's my final word on this. You just got to do it. And I don't, if you don't want to do it, I'm 100% fine with that. I would never make anybody do anything. Obviously, I can't make you do this, but there's a lot of people on this webinar right now. And I imagine you're on this webinar because you want to earn an extra 10, 20, 30, $50,000 a year or a month. And both of those are possible. They're very, very possible. If you follow some of the people that are out there, doing this right now, they're going crazy, making a ridiculous amount of money, not killing themselves, and they're pretty much retiring within a couple of years. The reality is by the end of next year, honestly, right now, if I didn't have any expenses, I could retire on what I'm making. And I did not kill myself. I worked 1 to 2 hours a week doing this over the last many years. I'm getting ready to kick it up a notch right now because it's for my family. One of the other things I'll say, which isn't on here, is you have to figure out what your why is. Right? Why are you doing this? Why is it your family? Is it your grandkids? Is it your kids going to college? For you to buy a house? For you to live an independent lifestyle? Whatever that why is, you really got to dig down deep and know that, because when you know that, life becomes really, really simple. And that's my, for you guys to know, that's my granddaughter for me with her condition that she has. I'm motivated like crazy to make sure that I do that. And one of the things that is not talked about a lot, going into segue to that, is I know because of what I'm working hard at right now that my family will never have to worry about money for a few generations, not just with myself. Because right now my wife is getting licensed, my daughter's getting licensed. When my grandkids get old enough, they'll get licensed. I'm trying to get my 3 boys licensed also. And we're setting up a corporation. So when something happens to me, because it will at some point, I'm going to die at some point. I'll be 142 years old, but I do plan on dying at some point. And the money that I'm working hard to build right now, which I'm hoping to be 2 to 3 to 4 million, $5 million a year over the next few years, that money will shift, right? And that money will shift to my family. So it's not just about me. It's about what I can do for my family for the next generation, or maybe 2 generations, or maybe more. Who knows, right? All right, I'm going to open this up to questions. I try to keep these things to less than 45 minutes. So we've got about 10 minutes left. Okay. Are these numbers realistic? Can you tell? I can't read this. I need glasses for that. Can you explain the numbers for the 10-10 thing? Okay. Yeah. So the 10 people and then 10 people is really simple. Uh, if you introduce 10 people, and again, I'm going to use all cappers because it's easy numbers, but if they half cap, you can do the math. If you introduce 10 people over the next few years and they all cap, that's $28,000 a year to you, right? If those 10 people all did the same thing, that's 100 people. At 32, the second level is $3,200 per person, right? Up to $3,200 per person. That's $320,000. That's how I get that number, right? So that's how you get to $348,000. Those are real numbers. Those are crazy numbers. And by the way, that's not even counting anybody that goes below that to the third, fourth, fifth, sixth level. You'll grow that. I don't know most of the people on my sixth and seventh level. I don't know them, and and by the way, 75% of the money that I receive right now, I mean, some of you might be on here right now, but I may not know you. And that's the beauty of this model is you create wealth without knowing people. How awesome is that? I call it mailbox money. One question, is this recorded? Yes, I recorded it, and I will be sending it out to everybody after the event. Next question. That's a good question. So how do I start? This is really overwhelming. I love that question, actually. So I did talk about, maybe I didn't talk about it. You want to start by creating a list. Who are the people, the top 50, 100 people that you want to talk to? I just did a new list for myself. I did 75 people. Out of that 75, I've already contacted 30 of them. And out of the 30, of them, I'm talking to 10 of them. I'm having serious conversations with 10 of them. Now, will all of them join? Actually, 2 of them have already joined. Out of the 8 more that I'm talking to out of that 30, I don't know, maybe. And it may not be the right time. It's whenever the right time is. But make sure you put your list together. Make sure you put it into a spreadsheet or a CRM, and make sure you make notes on when you talk to those people, because it's very, very important to do that. Next question. Do you only do phone or initial contact, or do email as well? I don't do this through email. I do this phone or text. I don't like email for it. I don't think most people read email because we get swamped with so many emails, and it's not as personal. Now, I'm not telling you not to do it, but it's not my favorite way to do that thing. I'd rather text or email or phone people. I've been doing really well with Instant Messenger. That's kind of how I've been doing. Most of the people I'm talking to is just through Instant Messenger, which is texting to me. Am I sending the slides too? Sure, I can send the slides also. That's not a big deal. Okay, here's a good one. Lots of information. What's your biggest piece of advice? Let me think about that one for a second. If I had to give you my biggest piece of advice, it would be help your friends change their lives by you changing your life. What do I mean by that? If you show them, what's really cool right now when I'm talking to someone that I'm a friend with, and that actually is a connector that I know knows lots of people, and when I talk to them about what I'm doing and what I've already created in a year and a half in my life and for my family, it's a pretty compelling, argument of why they should join, right? I talked to a guy the other day, and I, he's a connector, so that's why I had the conversation. He was an adamant no. Nope, I love where I'm at. I've been there since I've been in the business, and I'm doing great. So I said, okay, and I told him the story of Katie, and he goes, yeah, that's nice. And the guy's making about $250,000, $300,000 a year, so an extra 20, 25 grand, nice. But I said, well, I'm making a lot more than that, and I showed him my revenue share screen, and he's like, holy crap, that's real? I go, and that's residual. Pretty amazing. So that would be my unless anybody else has any more questions, I don't see any more. That's my biggest word of advice. If you introduce a couple people, imagine if you could show somebody that you're friends with, look, this is paid for my car payment this year. What if you're only making $350 a month, right? $500 a month. What if you just make that? And by the way, that's 2 people a year, the cap, right? If you do 2 cappers, that's $5,000, almost $6,000. That's $500 a month. Does that pay your car payment? For some people, it pays both their car payments. Very, very simple. So if you work to change your life, then it'll compel you. That's how I feel these days. I'm really compelled to help people change their lives because this has changed my life. And I love changing people's lives. Again, those of you who know me know I live to help people change their lives. So we're going to finish on that. Oh, I have one more question. Hold on a second. It says, what if I'm new to eXp and I don't have those things to show them yet? It doesn't matter if you don't have those things to show them yet, then don't show them that. But you can easily tell them if you introduce 2 people this year to the company and 2 people next year and 2 people the year after, you can do that, right? Everybody does that. And then you show them what you can make, then that's what you can do. And then when you start to have some successes with it, you share those successes, right? And let's see, I have another question. Can you share Gene's video? Actually, I'm going to do that right now while I get this on here. Hold on, give me 1 second, and I'll go into YouTube real quick and share that to you guys so you can have it and you can do that because it'll take me a second. And there's other ones. I love this video, probably because I'm on it for the first 5 minutes. And my ego there tells me I should love it. No, I'm kidding. But it's just Gene is one of the best presenters. If you've never heard Gene present, watch this video yourself. Again, it's not 100% accurate. I don't know why my computer's so slow right this minute. Probably because I got a lot of stuff going. But this will come up in a second, and I'll do this for you, and I'll text it in the box there for you all to take away with you. There you go. Gene's just a phenomenal person to do this with. He just does a better job than anybody else I've seen, and I love watching him. I love watching him speak. I love watching him present. He does an amazing job. So I'm going to end it at this so we can all go to work because it's that time. Thank you so much for attending. I will be here to help all of you. I'm here. All right, take care. Have a wonderful weekend, and we'll talk soon. Bye-bye.